Why should you attend live events for your podcast? Thank you for joining me for the Audacity podcast. I'm Daniel J. Lewis. No matter your podcast topic, there's probably a conference, expo, live show, concert, rally, or some other kind of live event with people in person around that niche. And besides the topic you cover, there are live events specifically about podcasting. I'm at one right now, at the time of this episode's release at least, talking about Podcasting 2.0. Hope you came to my session if you're listening to this episode later, or maybe you can come to a session that I have in a future conference. And I think you should come to an event at some point because I think live events can be of great value and opportunity to you and your podcast. It comes down to 4 benefits I'm about to share with you. Keep in mind that any one of these benefits alone could be reason enough to attend a live event. But the more events you can find in the overlap of these 4 things, the better that event could be for you. I've done multiple episodes in the past about events, about things like business cards at events and how to prepare for events and such. So I'll have a list of those episodes if you want to check them out in the notes for this episode. And you can get those notes a simple tap or swipe away, or at the audacity2podcast.com/whyattend. Number 1, grow your knowledge. The obvious first benefit is that live events, especially things like conferences, are a great place to grow your knowledge and learn more. That could be knowledge about your industry, learning about new trends, discovering resources in your niche, or learning how to refine your own craft, whatever that craft is that you cover in your podcast, or even learning to be a better podcaster. I think that the most important way to grow your knowledge at events is to take notes and, this is the key, translate those notes into actionable steps. For example, I often speak about podcast SEO, that's search engine optimization. In such a session, I would present lots of advice, demonstrations, and techniques that you could try to write down and record everything I say, or ask for my slides, which wouldn't really help you that much because of the way I design my slides. But merely collecting the information won't make you a better podcaster, and it won't make your podcast more findable. Instead, you should take what you learn and apply it. Decide what you need to do first and set aside the time to do it with your podcast as soon as possible, even before your next episode if you can. Otherwise, it's like all that knowledge goes in one ear and out the other instead of coming through your hands in what you do and through your voice in what you say and how you communicate and with whom you communicate. Number 2, grow your content. Podcasters are content creators. We're telling stories, sharing interesting guests, educating, inspiring, having fun, and more. And as such, a live event could be a great place to help you make more of that content. For example, I've attended events such as the Consumer Electronics Show, the National Association of Broadcasters, and Podcast Movement, sometimes with the specific goals of creating content while I was there. It's often been on-floor interviews with exhibitors. That's, by the way, how I met Deirdre Shen from Capshow, but also sometimes bringing a simple audio recording device to record other attendees, so my peers, answering a question that I could then share their answers in an episode of my podcast. I've done that before, and it's been lots of fun. I would come and ask the same question to multiple people. Like one of the episodes I did in the past was asking people, what's a podcast problem that you solved for your own podcast? How did you solve that podcasting problem? And got some really interesting answers from that. And that was a lot of fun. I might do that again someday. You could do something like that, or you could do other things, actually creating content there at the event and going with the purpose to create content. Trying to grow your content at a live event can be complicated though, especially if you want to get into things like video. And then you have to start thinking about, well, do I need 1 microphone or 2 microphones? How am I going to light this? What kind of lighting environment will I be in? How noisy will it be? Do I need a tripod, a monopod? What kind of camera? Can I use my phone? It doesn't have to be complicated. It can get complicated. And the higher quality you want it to be, the more complicated the setup will be and the more planning it takes. But it doesn't have to be that complicated. Sometimes it could be as simple as turning your smartphone upside down and holding it as if it was a handheld microphone and talking into the microphone that way. That might be good enough for the audio that you need for an audio podcast. Or you could bring things to be able to record video and then publish those on the video first platforms like YouTube, TikTok, X, Facebook, and other places. Regardless of the complexity or simplicity of whatever setup that you bring, it can be a lot of fun to create content at an event because there's so much energy there. It can be energizing to you, energizing to the other people. They're excited. They are there to share information, to learn information. They are pumped to be there, and you can leverage that in your podcast. And it can be a whole lot of fun, especially being able to describe things and experience things and talk to people that you might not otherwise ever be able to do. And that brings me to my next point. Number 3, grow your network. People are the greatest value at any event. I've been to countless events where I've invested more time talking to people in the hallways and on the expo floor than I spent learning in sessions. And I say invested because it really is an investment when you talk to people and get to know other people. You're investing in them and maybe also investing in yourself. I don't think that I've learned everything that there is to learn, so I'm not skipping the sessions because I feel like, oh, I know that all already. No, there is lots of stuff I still want to learn. But talking to people is so much more valuable, I think, because most conferences allow you to get a virtual ticket so that you can watch or listen to the sessions later. And I always recommend that upgrade, especially some of these conferences where there are so many great things happening from so many really smart people, all happening at the same time. So you can't go to all of them, but you can get the virtual ticket and consume that information later. But you can't meet the people, especially not face-to-face like this, so easily after the event. That's something that can really only be done there at the event, in person, with other people, in person. Growing your network isn't about becoming a business card ninja, shooting your business cards at whoever will take them, or even people who won't take them, but it's really about making connections with other people. And in fact, speaking of business cards, if you use business cards, and I've done an episode in the past about making your own cards for your podcast, but here's my challenge to you and what I tried to do myself. For any business card you request or are given, look it over, ask questions based on it, and this is the most important part. Write something about that person or your conversation with them. It could be as simple as what you talked about. For example, I still remember when I first met Dustin Stout at Social Media Marketing World, and I wrote on his business card that his wife watches Once Upon a Time, the TV show that I had a podcast about at that time. And now, Dustin is the creator and head of Magi, my favorite AI toolbox, and Dustin has become a very special friend, and I've gotten to know him and be encouraged and challenged by him through a small mastermind group that I host. And all that started from meeting him at a conference and being more memorable because I wrote something down on the business card that he gave me. But even better than writing only about your conversation would be to write an action that you need to take. That could be connecting that person with someone else, checking out a resource that they recommended, or some way you want to follow up with them. And for any card you want to give someone else, write something on it for them. It could be one of your episodes that you think they would like. Maybe it's a different podcast that you think they should check out. Maybe this one. Maybe you want to recommend this episode to them, or one of my other episodes. Or maybe it's someone else that you want them to meet, or something that you recommend that they try. Like I was at a conference recently where I talked to so many people about the Hollyland Lark M2S, and that was even before I had my own one. It was just, I'm such a fan of the design of the microphone, and I was telling other people about it. So I was writing it down on business cards saying, you got to check out this microphone. It's a portable lavalier microphone that works really well. It's wireless and all of this stuff. And you might see me with it at Podcast Movement or at a Podfest or some other event because I just love the system. And when I get back to making videos, you might see me using it in videos too. And so that's something that I wrote down on my business card that I gave other people. And that made my business cards more actionable for them too. Even without business cards, you could still do this kind of memorable networking through the conference apps or simply by quickly sending each other messages through your preferred channel, whether that's social networks, direct messaging, emailing, or texting, or whatever. And number 4, grow your podcast. Live events also give you the opportunity to reach a bigger audience and grow your own podcast. But unlike my first 3 points, this one is more effective if you go to the right events, and you have to be more picky if this is your goal. For example, Podcast Movement and PodFest are my favorite conferences about podcasting. I do highly recommend them. But unless you also have a podcast about podcasting, don't expect to grow your audience much by mingling among your fellow podcasting peers. They have their own shows too. You have your own show. You're probably not going to get much of an audience from other podcasters, unless you have a podcast about podcasting. This is where and why you should focus on the niche you serve. If you have a dog breeding podcast, for example, you could go to dog shows and hand out flyers about your podcast as you meet people there, whether vendors or other attendees, anyone that you think might be interested in it. Don't just spam people with your information. Get into conversations, do that networking, and then maybe there are opportunities for you to mention your own show. And if they are there about the topic that your podcast is about, then they might be much more interested in your podcast. You could even sponsor the event to get extra attention on what you do, or combine a few of these top-level benefits that I'm mentioning in this episode and consider trying to create content while you are there at the event. And that act of creating content could open all kinds of opportunities to promote your podcast as others see the energy happening around you, especially if you can plan in advance for some of these things. Like if there's a vendor that you go to, they have a booth set up, you could plan in advance and give them some flyers that say something like, I was featured on the so-and-so podcast, that you could then give them so they could give it to other people after you've recorded your interview with them. Or as you're talking with people and they see you going around with a microphone and maybe a camera or lights or whatever your setup is, they might be interested. Hey, what are you doing there? Or these days, people might actually just ask, hey, do you have a podcast about dogs? And then you can say, well, yes, I do. In fact, hey, here's a card. Hey, do you have an interesting story you might like to share on my podcast, or a question that I could answer live right here with you that we record and publish on the podcast? See, you can create content. You can network, especially if you're at the right kind of event. You can use these things to grow your podcast. Because I think what makes this so powerful is that a live event has so much energy around it. Everyone is just so pumped up to be there, enthused about it. This is really what helped inspire me and gave me the kick to bring back the Audacity to podcast. Is I went to Podcast Movement Evolutions in Chicago in 2025, and I really felt like, you know what? I just have so much I want to say again. I have got to bring back the Audacity to podcast. And with the 15th anniversary that was this year, I also felt like this was a great time to really bring it back. And I've missed it so much. And I wanted to do the podcast again. And it was the energy at the event that got me doing that. And so you can't really grow a dead podcast, but I've resurrected the podcast and it is growing again. I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful for whatever you might be able to do to help grow the podcast. But see, that kind of energy at a conference is something you can tap into and capture in your own podcast, and also tap into those opportunities because of that energy. And that's creating content, discovering networking opportunities with other people, or discovering audience for your podcast. These 4 benefits are why I think attending live events can be great. And it doesn't always mean an event that's about podcasting. That can certainly help you with a couple of these, but more specifically, an event about the topic that you cover. These 4 events, again, are number 1, grow your knowledge. Number 2, grow your content. Number 3, grow your network. And number 4, grow your podcast. Thanks to Brian Insminger from Top Tier Audio for supporting the Audacity to podcast with 254 Satoshis. He streamed those through a modern podcasting 2.0 app. And if you get value from the Audacity to podcast, I would love it if you would consider what that's worth to you and give some of that value back. You can do that through a modern podcasting 2.0 app, just like Brian did, or through the audacitytopodcast.com/give back. Now that I've given you some of the guts and taught you some of the tools, wait. I can't end this without teasing something. I've got a new app coming up, a brand new product that is so much better than the other options out there. It's going to be an app. Well, not just going to be, it is. It's already working. It's in beta stage right now, maybe even released by the time that you're hearing this, but it will help you to better add chapters to your podcast episodes. And it provides transcripts and it does some really amazing things that the first time I got the pieces working and then pressed the button to make it do its magic. And that magic was automatically placing my outline into timed chapters inside of my episodes. The first time I saw that, I got chills because it's just like, wow, did it really just do that? Did it just save me all that time and frustration of finding exactly where those chapters needed to go? So watch for my announcements for that new tool. I'll certainly mention it here on the Audacity podcast and also on my social accounts. Like I'm pretty much everywhere as the Daniel J. Lewis. And if you get my emails, I'll announce it there too. But it's a brand new tool coming. Notice that I haven't mentioned the name or the website yet because it's not quite ready for the public to see. Well, at least at the time of this recording. Maybe it is by the time that you're hearing this. But you might even be wondering, what's the use of chapters? Do I need chapters? What are they? Even what can they do? Why are they beneficial? I'll have an episode all about that very soon. It will tie in very nicely talking about my new app to help you make chapters for your podcast and what you can do with that. So watch for that. And in the meantime, go launch and grow your own podcast for passion and profit. I'm Daniel J. Lewis from the Audacity2podcast.com. Thanks for listening.